More than 36% of Americans earning at least $250,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck in the year 2022, and that's the survey from Lending Club and Payments.com. This is very troubling to me because earning $250,000 a year puts you in the top 5% of earners in the country. If you're brand new to my channel, my name is Sai and welcome. So in this video, I'm going to give you a full breakdown of why high earners making $250,000 are living paycheck to paycheck and how the rest of the Americans are affected by high inflation. Also, don't forget to check out my Grammarly affiliate link in the description below. Grammarly can help you write professional emails and resumes, and it's free to use unless you want the premium version. So nearly half of millennials are living paycheck to paycheck, and that's between the ages of 25 and 40. Millennials were born between 1982 and 1997. It's not just the millennials, but Gen X and baby boomers are also carrying the highest average balance of student loan debt. And since college tuition didn't cost as much as it did back in the day, I'm gonna take a wild guess that most of these student loans they took out was the Parent Plus loans for their millennial or Gen Z kids and grandkids who went to college in the last 10 or 15 years. So first, let's break down why these high earners making $250,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. The biggest contributing factor is the housing expenses, and that's also from what I've seen from my clients as a financial coach. I'm going to use the Las Vegas housing market trends as an example. In March 2020, and that's when the country shut down for the global pandemic, the median sale price was $285,000, and as of April 2022, we're sitting at $435,000. Now let's look at the 30-year fixed rate mortgage from 2022, and it was consistently around 3%. By the end of 2020, it was at around 2.68%, which was incredibly low, right? So I refinanced my house at that time and got my interest rate reduced from 4.25% to 2.8%. Now the mortgage rate is sitting around 5.2%, which has almost doubled since I refinanced my home. So if I bought a house in 2020 or 2021 for $400,000 with a 3% interest rate, the P&I would be around $1,700 a month, right? So let's say I buy the same house now and it's $600,000 with a 5% interest rate. Then that's $3,200 a month just for the P&I, and that's nearly double the payment from the previous example. My home value has nearly doubled over the past 2 years, and I can tell you that this is the best time for me to sell my house, but it's the worst time to buy one. And if you make $250,000 a year, and I'm going to assume that's the gross income, after taxes and deductions, I'm going to say you make $180,000 a year, okay? That's $15,000 a month in take-home income, or $7,000 every 2 weeks. If your housing payment is $3,000 a month, then that's really not that bad because it's only 20% of your take-home income. I always recommend keeping your housing expenses between 20 and 25% of your take-home income. You could realistically afford a $500,000 home with a 5% interest rate because with the P&I, property insurance, and taxes, your total payment should be anywhere between $3,000 and $3,500 a month. And keep in mind that I'm just throwing general numbers out here because your cost depends on the state that you live in. However, if you purchase a home for $1 million or $2 million in the state of California or somewhere that's more expensive, you're looking at $5,400 a month or $8,000 a month just on the P&I, right? Unless you put down a substantial down payment on the home you purchased, you're looking at 50% of your income going straight to your mortgage payment every month. And that has to hurt. And with the rising home prices and interest rates, people are still rushing to buy houses because the rent is just as much as a mortgage payment in some areas. You probably feel like you're wasting your money by throwing away your money at the rent and you don't get anything back. This is tough, and I don't have a one-size-fits-all solution, but this is what I would do if I were in your shoes, and by no means this is financial advice. My wife and I have discussed this, and we will not buy any rental properties or primary residence this year. The market is way too hot, and because the inventory is still low in the Las Vegas area, and the mortgage rates are probably going to increase to 6 or maybe even 7% by the end of the year, the Fed is still looking to increase interest rates tomorrow on June 14th or 15th during the FOMC meeting. And if I had to guess, it's going to be another 50 or 75 basis points depending on the inflation data. I'm recording this video a few days before the CPI data comes out, but I would guess that inflation is going to calm down a little bit, but not that much. I'm sure this isn't the answer everyone wanted to hear, but I will be more patient until the housing market calms down. I can get out of rent at any time as long as I abide by the rental contract, right? But taking out a big mortgage loan to buy a house at a record high is extremely risky. With the Fed raising interest rates, the demand in the housing market will decrease. And when the demand decreases, the housing prices will decrease as well. And what I don't want to do is make a 20% down payment on a house and then end up losing 20% of its value, which means I lose 100% of that down payment I made on the house, right? If you're not ready to buy a house, then don't rush to buy a house, especially if you live in a major metropolitan city. Pay close attention to the city's housing inventory under construction, and if the inventory starts to increase, then I could see the prices start to drop as well. So if you need help with your personal finances like budget, debt, and investment strategies, I strongly encourage you to sign up for our free 20-minute financial coaching session by visiting FiveSideChat.com/coaching. Another major contributing factor to these high earners living paycheck to paycheck is they're still repaying the debt. And according to payments.com, 2/3 of the US population, which is about 157 million US adults, are living paycheck to paycheck. And what paycheck to paycheck means is that your entire income is going to expenses and or repaying debt, and you're saving nothing for a long-term retirement plan or short-term cash reserve. You're spending all your money by paying your bills and repaying credit card debt, car loans, or student loans from one paycheck before receiving the next paycheck. And 36% of those making $250,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. And let me give you some more scary data here. 36% of consumers earning $100,000 to $150,000, 31% earning $150,000 to $200,000, 26% earning $200,000 to $250,000, and 24% earning more than $250,000 are living paycheck to paycheck without any issues paying their bills. However, between 10 and 12% of consumers in these higher income brackets live paycheck to paycheck with issues paying their bills as of April 2022. In the first quarter of 2022, Americans' total credit card balance is $841 billion, and that's a $15 billion drop from $856 billion in the fourth quarter of 2021. And this is all according to LendingTree. However, I highly doubt this is the beginning of the downtrend due to high inflation. And Americans are more likely to carry credit card balances month over month during high inflation, and the average credit card interest rates are anywhere between 16 and 25%. LendingTree also reported that 53% of Americans carried a balance on their active credit card accounts. So this is on top of the student loans they still owe. And the student loan debt just reached $1.75 trillion in the first quarter of 2022. According to NerdWallet, the average debt for a bachelor's degree is $29,000 and graduate school is around $71,000. Let's also talk about your car loans. The average monthly car payment for new cars is $648 and for a used car is $503. And these payments really add up, right? And I haven't even touched on the basic expenses like your groceries, gas, and utilities. Guys, just because you make $250,000 a year, it doesn't mean that you can afford to pay $1,200 a month on your car payments. Carrying over your credit card balances is a no-brainer. You should never carry a credit card balance month over month. You're paying 16, 20, or even 25% on interest, and that's just ridiculous. You should also reevaluate the vehicles that you own and figure out if you can really afford the $70,000 or $80,000 vehicles you have in your garage. If you're already paying 50% of your income towards your housing expenses and you still have car loans and student loan debt, then you're barely saving any money even with $250,000 a year. During this difficult time, I strongly recommend you visit my website at firesidechat.com/contact to get your free spreadsheets to help you pay off your debt as soon as you can. and you have to get your debt under control before you decide to buy a house or buy a vehicle. You can check out the video I made about paying off $47,000 in credit card debt while making $58,000 a year in income, and I will put that video link in the description below. If you're serious about retiring early from the workforce by building a massive investment portfolio, you have to budget. There's no way around it. You're already doing great by making $250,000 a year in income. You're the top 5% earner in the US, and you could easily save and invest at least half of your income. This FIRE checklist that I created has helped me get to where I am now since I paid off my debt in 2016. The first step is to calculate your FIRE number, but what that really means is you have got to get your expenses under control. Even if your housing expenses are 50% of your take-home income, you can clean up your debt, and you have got to live below your means if you want to achieve financial independence and retire early. If your housing expenses are too much, then you might want to consider downsizing your house or moving somewhere cheaper. My wife and I will always maintain our housing expenses below 25% of our take-home income. Let me show you this investment spreadsheet, and you can download this for free by visiting fivesuch.com/contact. If we invested half of our income at $100,000 a year with an 8% average annual return, it would only take us 7 years to become a millionaire. And it's simple math. And you could argue that the market might finish with a negative return this year, but the S&P 500 is still performing a 7 to 8% average return since the year 2000. I can't predict how the market will perform, but I still believe in the long-term growth of the US economy. Large cap stocks like Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, Google, and Amazon will still continue to grow for the next 5 to 10 years. If they stop growing, then we got a bigger problem, right? So the bottom line is, whether you make $70,000 a year, $100,000 a year, or $250,000 a year, you need to get your expenses under control. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, making $250,000 a year, you have either too many expenses or too much debt. Once you pay off your debt, I encourage you to use the pay yourself first budget strategy to prioritize your savings and investments. Could you save $100,000 a year, $120,000 a year? Absolutely. And if you want to know more about how to invest to achieve financial independence, be sure to check out these 2 videos. So with that said, I appreciate you watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good one.